Is this some kind of twisted joke?
So it's about halfway through the month now, and for what I thought was going to be the busiest month of the year for me, turned out to be a lot more shallow than I thought. Sexal World was released, gave us 3 decks to play, and they all flopped. Pretty badly in the meta. We got this cool new summoning mechanic which contains a subtotal of 0 cards that really stand out as being anything but amazing. There's the new ban list, but that doesn't arrive until the 16th. Darkside Dimensions Taya returned with her limited event. That gave us a couple of new cards, and of course the skill. Yeah. This month has been a lot more disappointing than I originally thought, and this has left me in a really weird situation, where I don't really have a whole lot to do in Duel Links currently, but I'm still kinda stuck on the hype train for when we do start getting some decent stuff from the new world. Damn. If only there was some way I could get a hold of and play some of these new cards before they were actually released. Oh right. So I decided to put down the virtual cardboard for a bit and go out and purchase some real cardboard. Now this is my first IRL Yu-Gi-Oh video, so let me know what you guys think, with comments, likes, even subscribing to the channel. All that kind of stuff lets me know if I should be doing more of these, or if I should just drop them completely. I went out and purchased a full Fire Fist deck, which as some of you guys might know, is one of my favourite archetypes featured in Duel Links, and in my opinion is one of the most likely archetypes to start receiving support from the new world. So here's the deck list. Now for reference, I'm very bad when it comes to playing IRL Yu-Gi-Oh, as I just haven't played much of it. I've played it occasionally here and there with some friends, but definitely nothing serious. So if you're a TCG veteran and you think this deck list looks like complete and utter garbage, that's because it probably is, as it was built by me. Also, if you're wondering why I only have 1 RAM, it's because that's all the store had in stock. Panda can special summon whenever you activate a Fire Formation card, and it acts as a Graveyard Resurrect, and also protection against destruction effects. Bear is in here as a searchable one-off card that can remove other monsters on the field by sending face-up Fire Formation cards, if you ever need it. Elephant, when summoned, can send a Fire Formation card to the grave to special summon a Fire Fist from hand. It can also recycle Fire Formation cards from the grave back into the deck to search for any level 5 or higher Fire Fist monster. Rooster is my favourite of the monsters, and in my opinion probably the most used. When specialed, it can search for any Fire Fist monster, and once per turn you can send a Fire Formation card to the grave to set one directly from the deck. Ram, when normal summoned, can discard a card to target one Fire Formation you control and set a different one directly from deck. If specialed, you can set one Fire Formation directly from deck with a different name from the cards in your graveyard. Spirit is your tuner monster, and it can be used only to synchro summon Beast Warrior type monsters. When normal summoned, you can target one level 3 fire monster in your grave and special summon it. And the final main deck Fire Fist is Eland, your ritual monster. You can discard one monster to set one Fire Formation directly from deck. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send a face-up Fire Fist or Fire Formation card to the grave to negate it. The deck then has 8 Fire Formation spell and traps. Domei, when activated, can ritual summon a Beast Warrior, and if this face-up card is sent to the grave, you can target one Fire Fist monster in the grave and special summon it. Gyokkou can target one set spell or trap. Your opponent cannot activate the targeted card in response to this card's activation, and while this card is face-up, that set card cannot be activated. It also grants 100 attack to each Beast Warrior monster. Ingen, when activated, can fusion summon a Beast Warrior. If this face-up card is sent to the grave, you can add one Fire Fist monster from grave back to hand. Tenki can search for any level 4 or lower Beast Warrior monster, and also grants 100 attack to each Beast Warrior. Tensu allows you to conduct an extra normal summon of a Beast Warrior monster, plus the 100 attack buff. Yoko can target one face-up card your opponent controls, discard one Beast Warrior to destroy it, and also grants the 100 attack. Liang Peak is your searchable one-off field spell. It gains counters each time a Fire Fist is summoned. You can then remove these counters for one of 3 effects. 2 counters, if a Beast Warrior monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate cards in response. 6 counters, add one Beast Warrior from deck to hand. 10 counters, special summon one Beast Warrior monster from deck or extra deck ignoring its summoning conditions. The final Fire Formation card in the deck is the Counter Trap. Sinto. When a spell or trap is activated whilst you control a 5-fist monster and a fire formation card, negate and destroy it. The rest of the main deck is supporting cards. We have 2 cheap hand traps in Effect Veiler for monster negation and Ghost Ogre for removal. We have Monster Reborn for reborning monsters, and Called by the Grave for negating hand traps. The extra deck consists of 9 monsters. Swan is your fusion. On summon, inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each fire formation you control, and during the battle phase you may send 1 fire formation to the grave to target and destroy 1 card your opponent controls. Kirin is a level 8 synchro. When summoned, you can set 1 fire formation directly from deck. All monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack for each face-up spell and trap you control. Horse Prince is your level 6 synchro. When summoned, you can special summon 1 level 3 Fire Fist monster from your deck, but you cannot special summon level 5 or higher monsters after summoning this card. Tiger King is a rank 4. On summon, set 1 fire formation directly from deck. Once per turn, detach 1 material to negate the effects of all current face-up monsters, except Beast Warriors. When sent to the grave, you can send 3 fire formation cards to the grave to special summon 2 level 4 or lower Beast Warriors with the same attack from the deck. Cardinal is also a rank 4 and can detach 2 materials to target 2 Fire Fist or Fire Formation cards in your grave or face up on the field, and target 2 cards in your opponent's grave or face up on the field, and shuffle them all into the deck. Lion Emperor is a rank 3. You can attach 1 material to target 1 fire monster in the grave and add it to hand, but you cannot summon monsters with the same name for the rest of the turn. Eagle is a rank 2. You can activate 5 Fist monster effects without sending cards to the grave. You can target 1 Fire Formation card you control or in the grave, add it to hand, and send 1 Fire Fist monster from deck to grave. Peacock is also a rank 2. While this card points to a Fire Fist monster, your opponent cannot attack it. When it declares an attack, you can send 1 face-up Fire Formation card to the grave to target 1 monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase, but it cannot attack. This deck also has the really big Gladiator Beast monster, which is just a boss monster you can summon with your field spell if you ever get 10 tokens. Alright, so that's it for the deck list. Now to show you some gameplay. So I invited one of my buds around who also happens to be a massive Yu-Gi-Oh dweeb, and got him to bring a deck you guys might be familiar with. TELLARKNIGHT. We played 2 best of 3s, both of which the Fire Fist deck stomped hard, which is a shame because I kinda wanted to show you guys some TELLARKNIGHT TCG gameplay, but they kinda seemed pretty bad there too, or maybe it was just an unlucky bricky kind of a night. The only game loss I had against TELLARKNIGHT was a huge brick on my end and a huge brick on his end, and he just kind of beat me to death with a Utopia, which is kind of sad. But just for reference on how good this deck actually is, before you get too excited, I then played a best of 3 against him using his invoked Dogmatica deck, and got completely steamrolled, like it wasn't even close. So don't go purchasing this deck IRL expecting to be the next Worlds winner. Now before I show you a couple of the games, be warned, like I said at the start of the video, I am a filthy casual, and the gameplay is filled with mistakes, and because it was my first time playing the deck, and was just a casual friendly duel, small do-overs did happen a couple of times. Not only that, but the only camera I actually have access to is my stream's webcam, so it's not exactly the best quality either, so I apologise for that in advance. Anyway, try enjoying the gameplay. So game 1 I activated Yoko on my first turn. This wasn't to use Yoko's effect, it was just to activate it so I had a target for Ram. I then used Ram to discard a card to set a fire formation with a different name directly from deck, which in this case was Tensu, which I activated instantly. Now because I activated a fire formation spell, I can special summon Panda from hand, and then use Panda's effect to special summon the Rooster I just discarded. Not the Veiler, that was a mistake. I then use Rooster's effect to search for a Fire Fist monster, as well as swap out the Yoko for the ritual spell which I set. I then XYZ summon Lion Emperor using Ram and Rooster. I then tribute the effect Veiler in hand and the Panda on board using the ritual spell to ritual summon into Eland. Then I think I had a minor stroke because I detached from Lion to add Panda back to hand, only I special summoned it to the board. I then pass the turn on to the opponent, who sets 4 cards, very exciting I know, and tries to summon a Vega and activate its effect. I immediately point out that he is in fact a dum-dum and I want to negate the Vega with Eland. Then I think my brain stopped working because I couldn't work out which of the 2 spells I wanted to send to the grave, despite being the obvious choice, send the ritual spell. I eventually did make the right choice to send the ritual spell to the grave, which then allowed me to special summon Ram back to the board, which would activate Ram's effect to search for a fire formation spell from deck and set it. Now because I'm a dumbass and summoned Ram in attack position, my opponent takes advantage of this, swings Vega into it, and I take a little bit of damage. He then passes the turn back to me, and the first thing I do is activate Gyokkou to take out one of his 4 back row cards. This is also when I should have summoned the Panda from last turn. I then normal summon Elephant and send one of the fire formation spells in my graveyard back into the deck to search for a level 5 or higher Fire Fist monster in deck and add it to hand. I then attempt to activate Lion Emperor's effect, which is immediately met by Solemn Judgment, and normally this would destroy the card, hence why I sent it to the grave. But then I remember I have Panda on board, so I can just send one of my back row to the grave instead. The effect is negated, but the card will stay alive. Now that I've used Panda's effect, I decide to link him off along with Elephant to special summon Eagle. Now I'm not gonna lie, I basically only did this because I wanted to try out the new monster, as there wasn't actually a whole lot of benefit to doing this. I then choose to move into the battle phase, when my opponent instantly activates a Stellar Skybridge to swap out his monster for a Deneb in defense position, which also allows it to search for an Altair. Unfortunately though, that Altair is only added to hand, he's already used a Solemn Judgment so his life points are very low, and I just swing at him for lethal. I start off this duel by setting one card. I then activate Ignar. I did this just like Yoko in the previous gameplay, just so I have a target for Rooster. I then use Rooster's effect to swap out the Ignar for a Tenki to search for a monster in my deck. Because I activated a Fire Formation spell, I can now special summon Panda from hand. I then pass the turn over to my opponent, who just like last duel, sets 4 cards and tries to summon a Vega, only this time he doesn't actually have a card in hand for Vega to summon anyway. He does have a Raigeki though, and tries to nuke my board, but luckily for me I have Panda, so I just send one of my back row cards to the graveyard to stop the cards being destroyed. He then passes the turn back to me, and I try to activate Gyokkou. This is where I think both players lost a couple of chromosomes, because he tries to negate my spell card with a Solemn Strike. I don't notice this, and try to negate it with a Sinto. He then negates my Sinto with Alpha. Now after that mess of completely legal gameplay, I summon Spirit, and then Synchro summon into Horse Prince. I then use Horse Prince to special summon a Ram from deck. Ram will then set a Gyokkou from deck, which is actually an illegal move thanks to that Solemn from earlier, putting another Gyokkou in the grave. I swing into my opponent, do a bit of damage, and then pass the turn. His first move is summoning Altair, which then summons the Vega back from the grave. He then uses the Altair and the Vega to special summon Dark TELLARKNIGHT Batlamius. Batlamius makes all monsters on the board dark. He then detaches one material and discards one card to overlay Constellar Diamond on top. I can now no longer add cards from graveyard to hand, and Diamond can negate any of my monster effects because they are all dark. He goes to battle phase, swings into my Panda, and I take a bit of damage. The turn is then passed back to me, and I normal summon a Fire Fist monster, and immediately link summon into Peacock. I move to battle phase, swing in with Peacock, take control of the Master Diamond, it cannot attack, but my Peacock and my Horse Prince have enough damage alone for lethal. I also forget to send Gyokkou to the grave for the cost, but that is game.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.